Well, ladies and gentlemen, back to my studio, back home, back in the rhythm. So happy, had a great time in Sedona. Now it's time to work again. So guys, today we are going to be covering our video series of Rahu through Nakshatras. And today we're going to be covering Rahu to Punarvasu Nakshatra. And what happens when Rahu is in the Punarvasu Nakshatra, which occurs a little bit in the beginning of the sign of Cancer and rest in the sign of Gemini. And this is a nakshatra ruled by Jupiter. Now, if you do not know where your Rahu is placed, what sign it's in, what nakshatra it's in, what house it's in, all the other planetary details, for that, check out the links here. Check out my full astrological report, including my books, Astrology, Conjunction and Aspects, and Mahadashas at the Speed of Light, including all my consultations at this link. So, Punarvasu Nakshatra. See, Punarvasu Nakshatra is about emergence of the goddess, the return of the goddess. And Punarvasu is a nakshatra ruled by Jupiter, which signifies a person with one single aim. A person who is wanting to aim for their spiritual growth, wanting to aim for their higher knowledge. But what happens now in this day and age, we also strive for our material goals. And especially because Jupiter represents the three basic necessities of life: food, shelter, clothing. These are the people who have, this nakshatra kind of represents the goal to create something. Goal to create like apartments and buildings and real estate, shopping centers. Because of the fact, in my own personal experiences, I've seen people who have had Punarvasu Nakshatra were either an entrepreneur, builders, real estate professionals, retail professionals, people who are wanting to, build a shop for this and build a shop for that. But main thing about this nakshatra is also eternal pleasure. They seek pleasure through their ability to build things. So now what you're doing, you're putting Rahu in this nakshatra. So Rahu, as you know, Rahu is the Asura. Rahu is this malevolent energy. And the reason why we call it malevolent, it's actually not, is because it goes by against the principles that are given through the light. Where Rahu gives the principles of the darkness. But they're both the same. Remember, God is yin and yang both. God is light, God is darkness, God is good, God is bad, God is ugly, God is, beautiful. So Rahu, and remember, Rahu is the energy that actually is the energy that helps you build things. The Asuras are the reason why you have tall, big buildings, bridges, roads, vehicles, electronics, computers, electricity. They're the one who want to innovate things through material plane. This is why we think of Rahu as this material energy. But if you really look at it, having material resources is only part of the existence. Because if, let's say, we were born in the middle of a jungle, no nothing, life is going to be a bit harsh in this universe, even though humans survived. But it was the intelligence of Rahu, or people like Rahu, that said, well, we got to do something. We got to protect ourselves, because we are surrounded by tigers, hyenas, wolves, lions. What can we do? Then they think, oh, I got a tree here. Okay, so then they build something to bring that tree down. Then they think, okay, well, what if we slice this tree? They start thinking, okay, well, we'll take the slice of that wood, we'll put it on the ground. And they take many, many of these things and they build a boundary around them. So you see how that intelligence of that Rahu comes into play. So in Punarvasu Nakshatra, in the beginning when it's in the sign of Cancer, Rahu feels like it needs to build something related to protecting itself, protecting and nourishing the things that it loved the most. So you will find Rahu here interested in, building real estate, home furnishing, beautifying the home, because it has very unusual ideas. You know those architectural furnitures that you just know you may not never use it, but it is useful for the home and it's beautiful. It's crazy beautiful. That's Rahu. Rahu wants to build like a shop where people can come and buy milk and groceries because it wants to innovate. It wants to protect that humankind. It's moving into the sign of Gemini. And also in the Cancer and Gemini both. Rahu always feels the need to accelerate its knowledge. Rahu's like, well, I built this one thing. Let's see if I can do it better. So then they'll make taller things, bigger things. Because remember, Rahu is expansion. It's expanding outwards. So it wants to, whatever it's trying to do, it's trying to do it in a big way. But then what happens is it reaches a certain level of understanding that, okay, now that I have really achieved this, building all these material things, what else can I do to innovate? That's when Rahu goes into the spiritual realm as well. In Punarvasu, where Rahu wants to attain information that can really show that direction of, the destiny point, to deal with the source energy. Then Rahu becomes obsessive about that too. It wants to learn one thing. So it wants to learn Bhagavad Gita, Ramayana, Vedas, Vishnu Purana, Shiva Purana, Guru Purana, Akashic records. It keeps going and going. So Rahu in Gemini, really becomes this natural entrepreneurial spirit that simply wants to attain information, to build better things, to build bigger things. But also it wants to reach to a point where once it's done, it wants to now elevate itself to a spiritual level, astral level, Krishna level. But mainly what I have seen, especially Rahu in Gemini, people do very well in technology. They have an aim to build something innovative in technology. Or you will see somebody who is building like exotic architectures. So in Punarvasu, it's all about building. Whatever you build, whether you build an ashram, temple, buildings, technical gadget. And then what Rahu will do to you, it'll be like, well, I did this, I need to do it better now. So there's this obsession that comes into play with this Rahu. Okay, I need to keep doing this until I get it right and until I make it bigger and better and gain more things from it. And remember, yes, Rahu is materialistic in this nakshatra, regardless of the sign. Because Rahu feels like now that it has built things, it wants people to appreciate it. So now Rahu wants to make money from it, which is not a bad thing. That's what Asuras are for. They're here to do trade, to do business. Okay, I'll build this for you. What do you got for me? It's just part of the universe. Okay. So guys, this was my analysis of Rahu in the Punarvasu Nakshatra. And also one thing you got to understand about Rahu is that Rahu type person who has this in this nakshatra, no matter how many times you defeat them, they will keep coming back until they win. So whether they are soldier, fighters, athlete, businessman, entrepreneurs, regardless of how many times they lose their business, how many times they get shut down, they'll again start to come back, try to come back. They'll keep coming back because that's what this Punarvasu Nakshatra is. It is the return of the light. You take the light out, it'll always return. And Rahu wants to return it in a big way. So, like when people shut their business out, then they come back in a big way. Like Steve Jobs created Apple, got fired from it, bang, came back with a bang, saved Apple, created iPhones, iPod, whatnot. That's what it's all about. Okay? So guys, if you're new to my channel, subscribe below. And if you want to know where your Rahu is placed, all my astrological or your astrological details, my books, reports, consultations, for that, check out the links here. Otherwise, I will see you later. Bye-bye.